Story 1. The rude teacher who threatened me until I told the principal everything. I never thought I'd be the type of student to get into trouble with the teacher. I wasn't perfect, sure, but I respected adults, I did my work, and I stayed out of drama. That all changed when I met Mr. Harrison, the kind of teacher who believed power meant being feared. It all started in my junior year of high school. Mr. Harrison taught history, or rather, he lectured at us while making everyone feel stupid for asking questions. He was one of those old-school teachers who thought sarcasm counted as teaching. Maybe if you paid attention, you wouldn't need to ask that, he'd snap whenever someone asked something basic. Or, wow, didn't realize we had kindergartners in this class. Everyone hated his class, but we all just tried to survive the semester. I thought I could too, until the day he made me his personal target. The day it started. It was a Monday morning, and I was dead tired after pulling a late night finishing an essay for another class. During his lecture on World War II, I accidentally yawned. He stopped mid-sentence. "Am I boring you, Mr. Walker?" he barked. The whole class went silent. I froze, embarrassed. "No, sir. Sorry. Just didn't sleep much." "Oh, so you don't sleep because of me? That's the problem with your generation. No respect." Then he slammed his textbook shut and told me to stand up and apologize for interrupting his lesson. I wanted to disappear, but I stood, muttered an apology, and sat down again. Everyone was staring. He smirked. He liked the power. Weeks of humiliation. After that day, I became his favorite punching bag. If someone whispered behind me, he blamed me. If someone failed a quiz, he'd say, "Don't sit near Walker. Laziness spreads." He even started marking my essays lower than usual. I double-checked with another teacher. My work was fine, but in his class, nothing I did was good enough. I told my parents, but they said to just ignore him. My friends told me to record him, but phones weren't allowed in class. I felt trapped. Until one day, he went too far. The final straw. It was presentation day. We had to give short talks on historical leaders. I spent all weekend preparing mine on Winston Churchill. I even made slides. When it was my turn, I was halfway through when he interrupted. "That's incorrect, Mr. Walker," he said sharply. "Sir, I checked 3 sources." "Oh, so now you're the teacher." He walked over, shut off the projector, and said, "Sit down. You've wasted everyone's time." I could feel my face burning. After class, I stayed behind to talk to him privately. "Mr. Harrison, with all due respect, don't you dare talk back to me. If you keep this attitude, I'll send you straight to the principal's office." And that's when something clicked inside me. I smiled and said, "Good. I'll go myself." The turning point. I walked straight to the principal's office. First time in my life. I sat down with Mrs. Reynolds, the kind of person who listens before judging. She asked what happened, and I told her everything. Every insult, every humiliation, every unfair grade. At first, she looked skeptical, until I showed her something I'd been saving. See, even though phones weren't allowed, I had recorded one short clip a week earlier. Mr. Harrison yelling at another student for coughing. It wasn't long, but it was enough to show how he spoke to us. She leaned back in her chair and said, "I've had a few other students mention issues with him, but this is proof." The fallout. 2 days later, Mr. Harrison was called into the office. He came back to class the next day, red-faced and quiet. No sarcastic comments, no shouting, just silence. A week after that, we had a substitute. Mr. Harrison was on leave. Rumors spread that the school had launched an internal investigation after multiple complaints came in. Turned out, I wasn't the only one he'd bullied. Other students had been too scared to speak up, but when I did, it gave them courage. By the end of the semester, we had a new history teacher. Calm, respectful, actually good at teaching. The whole atmosphere changed. The aftermath. A few months later, Mrs. Reynolds called me to her office again. She thanked me. Apparently, my report helped the district gather enough evidence to remove Mr. Harrison permanently. I remember walking out of that office with a weird mix of relief and pride. For once, I hadn't just stood by and taken it. I'd done the right thing, even if it was scary. The funniest part? Mr. Harrison tried to apply to another school in the same district, but thanks to the investigation, his record followed him. He didn't get the job. Lesson learned. That whole experience taught me something powerful. Standing up for yourself doesn't make you disrespectful. It makes you brave. Sometimes authority figures forget that respect is a two-way street. You can be a teacher, a boss, or a parent, but you don't get to humiliate people just because you can. And if anyone tries, don't wait for permission to speak up. Go straight to the top. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting back. It's calmly, confidently telling the truth.
Story 2. How I found a legal loophole to skip school for a whole year. You know how adults always say, school is supposed to prepare you for the real world? Yeah, turns out they were right, because in the real world, loopholes are everything. And I, 17M at the time, found one so perfect that I managed to legally skip classes for almost an entire year, without detention, without suspension, and with my teachers completely helpless to stop me. The setup. So, I've always been the kind of student who plays by the rules, but barely. Not the troublemaker, not the golden boy, just the one who knew how to ride the line. Junior year rolled around, and like every other miserable teenager, I was drowning in assignments, pop quizzes, and teachers who thought weekends were made for homework. One day, I was reading through our school's student policy handbook. Don't ask why, I was bored during detention, and I stumbled across something that would change my life. Students participating in off-campus independent study or community-based educational programs may be excused from attendance provided they submit regular progress reports. I blinked. Wait, so basically, if I could prove I was studying independently somewhere else, I didn't have to attend normal classes. And nobody, not even the principal, could technically punish me for it. The master plan. I went home that night and told my mom I wanted to apply for an independent study program. She looked at me like I just announced I was joining NASA. "What kind of independent study?" she asked. Environmental observation." It sounded scientific enough to pass. She shrugged and signed the permission form. So the next day, I turned in my application to the school office. Along with a half-page project description I wrote at 2 a.m. that basically said, "My independent study will focus on observing natural ecosystems in local environments to better understand sustainability." Translation, I'm gonna hang out outside and not come to school. To my shock, they approved it. No interview, no questions, just a stamp and a smile. The great escape. From that point on, my attendance was officially marked as independent study excused. What did that mean in practice? It meant I could spend my mornings at the park, my afternoons at home, and my evenings doing just enough progress reports to keep the illusion alive. Every 2 weeks, I had to submit a short write-up describing my observations. So I'd write stuff like, "Observed how rainfall affects soil composition in suburban areas. Noted increased squirrel activity near the community garden." Yeah, I was literally writing about squirrels and getting full credit for it. Meanwhile, my friends were waking up at 6:30 a.m. for algebra in gym. The teachers catch on. About 2 months in, one of my teachers, Mr. Daniels, cornered me in the hallway. "Walker, I haven't seen you in weeks. Are you transferring schools?" "Nope," I said cheerfully. "Independent study." He frowned. "Independent what?" "District approved," I added, showing him my signed paperwork. He scanned it, sighed, and muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." The next week, I overheard 2 teachers whispering in the staff room. I was there to drop off my report. "He's technically not breaking any rule." "Well, we can't fail him if he's not enrolled in our attendance system." It was official. I had found the golden loophole, and the adults couldn't do anything about it. This sweet life. For the next several months, life was perfect. I'd wake up late, grab a coffee, and observe nature from the comfort of a cafe window. I spent hours drawing, reading, and occasionally joining my friends after school, who couldn't believe I was pulling it off. I even made a few videos for fun, documenting my research. It was basically me walking through the park, talking about weather patterns while drinking bubble tea. But then, the district decided to do a progress audit. One afternoon, I got a call from the school office. "Hi, is this Ethan Walker? We'd like to schedule a check-in for your independent study project. The district wants to see your findings." I froze. Findings? Like actual research? I couldn't exactly tell them that my ecosystem observation mostly involved watching ducks and scrolling Reddit. So I panicked, but I also got creative. That weekend, I spent 10 hours building a fake PowerPoint presentation full of fancy words like biosphere, hydrology, and community impact. I even threw in a graph I stole from Google Images. When the audit day came, I presented it to the review panel, 2 administrators and a district rep. They were impressed, actually impressed. The rep said, "We wish more students were this passionate about fieldwork." I nodded like a genius, trying not to laugh. The twist. A few weeks later, the school board sent me an official letter. "Congratulations, your independent study has been recognized as an exemplary model of self-guided education. You are invited to present at the district's spring showcase." I had officially become the poster boy for skipping school. So there I was, standing on stage a month later, giving a presentation about independent learning in natural environments. My PowerPoint was nonsense, but everyone clapped anyway. My principal even shook my hand. Only if he knew I had spent most of my research days at Taco Bell. The end game. When senior year came, the district quietly removed the loophole from the handbook. The line about off-campus study was rewritten to require a supervising teacher and weekly verification logs. Wonder why? But the best part? I still graduated early because my independent credits technically counted toward my electives. No suspensions, no makeup classes, no summer school. Just one very satisfied student who beat the system fair and square. What I learned. Honestly, it wasn't even about skipping school. It was about proving that systems often value paperwork more than effort. If you look like you're doing something important, most people won't question you. That's kind of terrifying and kind of brilliant. And to this day, whenever a teacher says, "The rules are the rules," I can't help but smile. Because I know I once rewrote them without even trying.